Over $2,000 in cash and prizes in the February Smite Twitchy League. We would love to have you out, guys. Any platform, any region, welcome, as long as you're a subscriber on Twitch and you're in the Discord, because that's where the games are getting made practically 24/7. You got to play in 5 games to qualify for the prizing for each month, and also make sure you're playing as well, because you can win those Alienware monitors and that Archon Thanatos skin as our seasonal prize for Season 9. Hello everybody, and welcome to your Apollo Season 9 guide. The hunter starts are pretty standard right now. You're still seeing most hunters go the old death toll right into the crusher at the start. A couple of hunters can actually get away with the Jotun's Wrath, but Apollo is not one of them. So we're gonna go right into that crusher, get ourselves that nice early power and pen. The real reason why this start is so popular is because you get all of that extra power from the death toll in the mace. Just like our YouTube videos get a bunch of extra power when you like and comment, guys, and make sure you're subscribed and ring that bell so you don't ever miss a video. So on Apollo, we are going to be starting off with that tier 1 mace and the death toll, and we are also going to be grabbing our 1 at level 1. This is our main lane clear ability, and this is also the ability that we are gonna max out first. It's got really good damage in terms of like a baseline hunter ability. Base scaling goes up to 330, which is pretty beefy for a non like magical damage ability in Smite. I didn't even know it was that high actually. I would have said it went up to 300. 330 is pretty large. No wonder why it clears the wave so well. As far as our generic build order on Apollo, you're going to see that we are going to be embracing the bows, kind of that Silverbranch style. Really plays into Apollo's strong suit because of his passive. Gets him online and going real quick. I'm gonna put my pressure right now onto this Achilles because we did get so much damage on him early, and it looks like we are gonna be able to pick up a first blood courtesy of all the bonus damage that we get by having this power from our starter item, and of course Yamoja having an ungodly amount of lane pressure. That'll also be a first blood or first blooded. You want to make sure you do go do those left hand side harpies first, although they are going away pretty dang soon. It's just going to be one harpy camp over here, and then it really won't matter what side you go to. And at level 2, we grabbed our 3 because that is our getaway ability on Apollo. Not only does it make for a great getaway ability, but as previously shown, it also makes for a great damaging, aggressive ability. Ooh, that's pretty aggressive play there from Anner to try to peel for me. I should be able to hopefully pick up the rest of that kill and get some very nice poke there onto the Anner. Almost gonna take him out as well. And then at level 3, you can either grab your mez or you can get another point in the 1. Either way. And then at level 4, you would do whichever one that you didn't at that point. Then finally grabbing your ultimate at level 5. After that, as far as the leveling order is concerned, we're going to be maxing out our ultimate whenever we can. We actually get a lot of damage value out of the ultimate. Then our 1, then the 3, and the 2 last. Some people like to level up the 2 before the 3. I personally, with my playstyle, really prefer the 3 because people forget that not only is Apollo 3 a dash, but it's also a movement speed buff, and that movement speed buff / debuff increases as you level it up. So I am a 4-1-3-2 guy. But some people do like to go 4-1-2-3 because the 2 increases the mez duration, reduces the cooldown. It's a little bit safer, but Apollo plays as a super aggressive god right now in the lane. So I'd recommend leveling up that 3 once you build up your confidence on Apollo. You can really get it going on him. Not to mention it gives you some extra damage as well, which is really tertiary compared to the increase in the movement speed buff and the movement speed slow.
Enemy spotted.
As far as our laning phase is concerned over here in dual lane, for our partners, Apollo has a really good ability to fight. He's also got decent lane clear, which makes Apollo a really nice pairing for a lot of different gods. If you're like, oh, I don't know what hunter to pick here, I don't know who pairs well with this support, chances are Apollo's going to pair well with them. He has the ability to split push later in the game. You've got the early kill potential if that is something that you're paired with. If you're paired with a more aggressive support like a Woojer or Sobek. If you're paired with a more defensive support, also fine. You can chill back with a Gab. You can chill back and relax. You don't have to go super ham. So he does have the capabilities of doing both, which makes him a very nice panic pick kind of hunter, where you're like, I don't know, man, I don't know what's gonna be good here. Apollo is probably gonna be good there. It's a very nice meta for Apollo right now. The build order really favors him. And on top of that, you always have the capabilities of, like, say your team is losing on Apollo. Oh, well, I can just split push a little bit, ulti over to the fire giant fight, make some lane presence, get some pressure. They have to force somebody to back. They force somebody to teleport over. Now they're not in the fight. A lot of map pressure with the Apollo still to this day. Definitely the better version of Chernobog right now, although Chernobog did get a slight buff recently, and he is also pretty decent. He also has that attack speed stim, so he can work into this meta right now as well. Same thing, provides that map pressure. As far as gods that we don't want to go against on Apollo, the laning phase, like we talked about, he doesn't really have any concerns. Not a ton of gods in the actual lane that he has to be worried about. He can box with the best of them, and he also scales really well into the late game, so he doesn't have to worry about the late game scaling against certain gods. He has more concerns about, like, the junglers. Walls can be pretty detrimental for Apollo because your dash obviously gets blocked. So you got to watch out for the Odins of the world. You got to watch out for the Emojas, but to be fair, everybody has to watch out for the Emojas of the world.
Nothing ever happens around here.
Cripples can be a little bit annoying for you, but cripples tend not to be too bad for Apollo, because if you're being crippled by somebody, oftentimes you can just mez them and then get out of the cripple range and then use your dash, which is fine. You don't have to necessarily use your dash first. You do have those two defensive abilities on Apollo, which is also just kind of what makes him a good general pick. So there's always something you can kind of do to get away. Another thing that you have to be concerned about is Apollo's ultimate. You do stand still, and it is your only form of CC immunity on your kit. So if you're going against a god like an Ares, and you don't want to have to be using your bead on his ulti, and so you're like, oh, I'm just going to use my ultimate for the CC immunity. You have to keep in mind, it's a nice solid second long channel. So if you're going against, say, an Ares lane, and you're like, oh, I'm going to ulti for the Ares ult, but then her ultis you while you're standing still, you're going to get deleted off the planet because you're going to sit there and you're going to take the whole thing. So you do have to be careful about using Apollo ulti as a CC immunity. He does have it built into his kit, which is great and all, but just be careful about when you're actually going to use it, because if you're like, oh, I'm going to use it for CC immunity, and then a Poseidon runs up and he krakens you, you're going to be like, ah, I probably should have just used my beads instead. So just be aware that that situation can and will arise. This is going to be a little greedy of me, but I am just going to go for the quick little love tap right here on the ender. I know his jump is down. I know his ulti is down, so he won't be able to kill me right there. But I am quite zoned out. I don't really have an option here but to kind of run back a little bit into harm's way, I'm gonna run towards
Rule number 2, only open the
the
door
mid lane because I've
my
got
secret
3
knob.
members of my team over there, and I'm not going to be lazy here. I'm going to continue to walk all the way back to these back harpies, and I'm going to grab them on the way out because for our second item, we're going to be grabbing that Aussie because we are going to be going into a Silverbranch Bow build. We want to make sure we have as much attack speed on our items as possible, so Aussie is going to be a real quick, easy way to get attack speed and a life steal into our build. Not to mention, the Crusher Aussie start still gives you a bunch of flat pen for early in the game.
This cannot be.
As far as your standard combination on Apollo, your standard combination is usually going to include your ultimate when you're going for the full combo, which means you're going to ulti right on down on top of a target as best as you can. Try not to miss. After you hit them, there is a small knock-up effect, so you should put a auto attack immediately after your ulti. So ulti, auto, then you get your 1 off, boom, and then you can immediately go for a mez. So ulti, auto, 1 auto, mez, and then they're gonna be stuck right there in front of you, once again setting up another auto attack, and then you can save your dash to actually chase them. You can see that I am chasing the her down here. Even though we both used our movement abilities, I'm chasing him down super efficiently because I've opted to level the 3 before the 2, giving me that extra movement speed. That extra movement speed buff coming in really hot right there, and it does last for 3 seconds. So when you do that dash, reminder, that's going to be 3 seconds of buff, and it also does affect your allies when you use that as well. People always forget that Apollo has a built-in team, basically small heavenly agility. Really good use of Apollo dash in the late stages of the game, trying to help people get out. Just gotta walk around the jungle, see if there's any farm around here right now that doesn't seem to be too much. As for our job on Apollo, as always with the hunter, your job first of all, try to win the lane and to win your hunter 1v1s. If you're winning your hunter 1v1s, that means you probably got pressure in the lane, which means you are taking that pressure away from their team and allowing your team to free roam on the map. Go for some more red buff invades because they don't have to worry about the hunter rotating over and killing them.
Nothing ever happens around here.
After the early stages of the game on Apollo, once we start heading into the mid game, as a hunter, your main 2 jobs are going to be to pay attention to the Anhur that's ganking you really hard with a Discordia. Is that the mid laner? No, okay, that's actually the jungle. I was like, is that the mid laner getting me twice already? It is not. That is the classic Discordia jungle. So our job is going to be to continue to push down this lane and then ulti over to the team fights, which hopefully will be happening in mid. If you have a global ult on your team in one of the side lanes, you want to make sure that as a team, you're forcing the fights in the middle, because you don't want the fight to be in the lane with the global ult, right? Because then you're not getting use out of the Apollo. So we are doing all of our fights in duo, then I'm not really using my ultimate. There's not really a point. If we're doing all the fights in solo, it's still going to take me a long time to get over there, and I'm basically going to have no mana because Apollo's ultimate is super mana hungry. So the mid lane is the perfect place to be forcing those fights. Allows me a chance to clear the wave and then ulti over, which brings up a good point. Always try to grab the clear before you ulti over. If there's a wave of minions, try to quickly clear the wave of minions, then go over. If you're doing a camp, try to quickly finish the camp and then ulti over. That way, even if you guys don't win the team fight, you didn't miss out on a bunch of farm in lane. So try to get that farm first. You don't want to be ulting all around the map and then realize that you are missing out on a bunch of farm the entire time. Don't let ulti rotations put you behind. I do think the Anhur is going to be here, but as the hunter, I need to be on the objective, put out a sentry ward, quickly get back to the objective as fast as possible, save my 1 for a little bit of secure. And it does look like they are going to try to force a little bit of something on this.
Your right tower
I just heard
is
the
under attack.
Anhur
Attack.
jump, so I'm gonna call for attack, and I'm gonna ulti in right on top of this Anhur. He's gonna have to use his ultimate in order to counter mine, and that's why we love having ourselves a nice headset. Now I got the Achilles coming at me. I've also got the Discordia. Don't think it's gonna end up mattering here. I'm gonna be dead no matter what, because they got the Hades that seemingly also teleported over from the dual lane, but we still get the Anhur. That's gonna be fine. For our third item, I am gonna be grabbing the Kin Size here. Kin Size is gonna give us a bunch of damage against all of these tanks that are running right at our forehead. And then for our next item, we will grab that Silverbranch Bow, giving us some of those percent penetration. Reminder that Silverbranch gets 20% pen nowadays. And then we are also going to get the Silverbranch power stacks, and we're going to get a lot of them when our ultimate, or excuse me, when our passive is actually built up. We're going to get tons of power. Without our passive being up, we won't get a bunch of power out of it. But during those 5 autos, when we got that over 2.5 cap attack speed, not impossible for it to be giving us like 50, 60 power, even pretty early in the game. So you have to remember, it's 2 power per stack.
You're on fire!
Now, Anhur has kind of started to last it over a little bit and left, so I'm just going to start rotating over, see if I can't help myself with a team fight. I'll actually do some decent damage to this Hades now, even though he has a bunch of physical defenses, because I do have the
Your middle tower is under attack.
Ken's online. Kind of just walking right into that Hera. Gonna pop a little preemptive beads. I know that Hades ult is down because I watched him use it earlier. You can actually see that that Kin Size is basically doing a full 25% more damage to the Hades. My auto attack hitting him for less than 100. Those autos hitting him for just over 25. So Kin's effectively added 25% damage to my auto attacks against the Hades because he's got so much physical defense already. Shout out to all the HP and physical defense and just cutting through it and being like, screw it, I'm gonna damage you based off of your HP instead of having to even deal with the
We
phys
all
D.
want things.
As far as pairings with Apollo that I like, Apollo is a little bit of a lonely character. Apollo is the loneliest number. So in general on your team, he's going to provide you the map pressure. He's going to provide you some late game carry. He could use a little bit of peel. You want to make sure you've got some good frontline on your team. And also, if you can get another global ult on the team, it tends to be kind of sneaky. Or some sort of global power to help him. Nuwa's not super meta right now, but when she is meta, having that Nuwa ulti to help you with the Apollo 1v1, that will inevitably end up happening, just makes your life a whole lot easier.
Enemy incoming left.
I kind of just have to commit to this fight, unfortunately. Oh my god, that Anhur pillar disappeared just in time for me. But that's actually a great example. A quick Nuwa ult right there just makes your life in the 1v1 so much easier because she does a quarter of their HP for you. So just having a little bit of that extra, I could have somebody else with me, provides a lot of threat. Athena also provides that exact same threat if you're like running her as a supporter or something, because then you've always got the threat of 2 people that can be anywhere on the map. Not really necessary to be like with a Neath and like with a Chernobog, like doubling down on the hunters. But if you do have one more global, or even a semi-global, like a Thor or a Ratatasker or somebody in the jungle, it really starts to, or a Janus in the mid lane, those compounding global presences really do start to add up. And it's not just like, oh, the Apollo could be here. It's like, oh, half their team could be here at any moment. Really starts to change the way that you play the game as the enemy. All right, now that we got the Silverbranch Bow online, now we're actually going to start shredding through those tanks. And if we can so kindly get our passive built up, you will see how much power we're going to be getting out of this item. Silverbranch Bow already giving us 30 physical power, which is fantastic. And then when we have it built up, we're getting another 30 stacks out of it. That's another 60 power basically, which means it's a 90 physical power item. That's a really good item. 90 physical power is a lot. And if anybody tells you that it's not, they are lying to you. And this is not even close to a potential full build. Now it's 37 stacks. That is so much power.
Enemy missing.
Gonna call the enemy missing. I know that Anher is going to be going for his purple buff, so I'm gonna position myself over there. It looks like I am gonna be making some friends, so I'm gonna try to back it up just a little bit here. I actually don't mind kind of taking this fight. I just want to position myself a little bit better for it. If enemies are in the right jungle, then I can continue to put this pressure over and left, and we can go attack that gold fury. You can see now that I've got the penetration from the Silverbranch, not a whole lot of pressure the Achilles can actually put on me by himself. The tanks will no longer be able to run on me willy-nilly. Between the fact that my Kins is dealing with their HP and my Silverbranch is going to deal with their protections, I become a bit of a tank killing machine. Now it should be noted that the one real weakness to this build is if the enemy hunter goes crit. If the enemy hunter does go crit, you just need to be aware. That is so awkward. You just need to be aware that crit does win the hunter 1v1 fight. Later on, in the team fights, crit doesn't transition quite as well, like against the tanks and stuff, but crit will always do good against squishies. So against the enemy mid laner, against the enemy hunter, not having crit will put you at a small deficit in those situations, but it'll put you at a large benefit against the enemy tanks, whereas crit will not be helping you against those tanks in the late game. So it's a little bit of push and pull on that one, looking at their composition and deciding what you're going to need to build. Deciding on, okay, do they have a mostly tanky team? Do they have a mostly squishy team? What are they going to be running and building? Do I have other physical damage auto attackers on my team? We've got an Erlang, we've got a Loki. Like, could other members of my team potentially be building crit? You've got to look into that. Lord forbid you've got 2 hunters on your team. Now you really got to be careful about building crit. Right now in Smite, you really don't ever want more than one person building crit on your team at a time. One person can be nice. More than one person is just asking for Hide of the Nemi Alliance and Spectral Armors and all of those counter items that are not that hard to get online right now. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, go, go. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, go, go.
You call me.
Ow! There's no going away on this one. Now here at the end, this is where the build starts to open up and we start to actually get a lot of variability. We can keep the death toll, we can sell the death toll. Both of these are actually viable options. Death Embrace, a lot more sustaining. Death Temper, a lot more damage, and also gives you a ton of attack speed that pairs really, really well with a Silverbranch Bow build, which is why I like to build it. Like I said, it is very much the more aggressive item. And then at the end of the build, this is where you really, really can open it up into whatever you want. Do you need more % penetration? Cool, you can buy a Dominance. Between Dominance and Silverbranch Bow, that's going to give you 45% penetration on your auto attacks. And yes, I do mean 45% over cap because of the way that the Dominance passive works. This particular game, I've had the Achilles and Hades running at me a lot, so I am going to go ahead and grab me that Dominance. So that we've got 45% pen, overcapped attack speed. We've got the 30 flat pen. We've got a bunch of healing because of the Death Temper and the Aussie. We got all sorts of good stuff. And we're going to have damage out the wazoo if we get this Temper stack and we get a Silverbranch proc going at the same time. It's gonna be nutty.
I have the last laugh. To the rescue.
Now, their team could immediately start split pushing, so I do have to keep that in mind. This Hera is kind of by herself. She did manage to get her shield up and running. Now, I think the Hades has already used his ultimate. I don't have, like, anything to get out of him if he doesn't, so I gotta be a little bit careful about that, so I'm just trying to path myself backwards a little bit, just in case it ends up getting a little hairy.
Only open the door when you hear my secret knock.
But preferably what I like to be doing right now is split pushing a lane and then ulting over. Dual lane has already got the tier 1 and the tier 2 tower down. So there's not a whole lot for me to be pushing over there. But if the Gold Fury does spawn, that'll be a good option for me to kind of walk over and try to go get while we're waiting around. Hera moving up a little bit. I don't know. This is pretty greedy of us to be this far forward right now. We're gonna get some stuff taken off of them, but full tilt diving into the T2 is traditionally not it. Traditionally not it. If we can burn down this Gold Fury, that would be great. I'm gonna go grab myself this purple buff. Achilles is over here, and if Achilles is over here, the rest of them are probably over here. I can try to ulti in on this and get some pressure, but they also have
Your middle tower is under attack.
quite a few members around. I'm gonna land right down though onto the the Achilles and the Anther, and he's gonna be at 1 HP. Holy bajolies. Gotta go ahead and Aegis this. It looks like I'm gonna end up dying anyway, but at least we forced the Hades to come in as well. Grab the Anther in the back. Looks like Discordia should die as well. Oh no, he's gonna live with 1 HP. It's gonna be a little bit of an awkward fight. That was a very good Erlang knockup. Gonna grab myself that dominance. We're gonna have a lot of damage on a Phoenix as well. If I hit a tower with this build, that tower is gonna die in like 5 autos. Not quite as good against like a Fire Giant or a Gold Fury because there's no crit, but those actual towers and Phoenixes are going to just disappear in front of us.
America to the rescue.
Especially if I have the Fire Giant. Now it is basically Fire Giant o'clock, which means that as soon as I spawn, I'm gonna start running over to the Fire Giant because we've got 1, 2 dead at this point. We're gonna have 4 of us alive. Pyromancer is also coming up.
2 down, baby.
So I'm gonna start moving ourselves over that way, throw down a sentry ward on it as well. Try to build up my passive a little bit on the way over there.
Attack Fire Giant.
Try to drop this Scorpion before he does speed so we can get a little bit of enhanced speed.
Nothing ever happens around here.
And even my regular autos right now, hitting for 405, 510 on a regular no crit auto. That's actually insane. 363 on the Fire Giant. These are literally practically crit size auto attacks on the objective, which is real nice. That should be 1 dead Hades. Even inside of the Hades ult, is just not going to be able to live through my combo. And now that we keep getting these pickoffs, now that we keep getting them 1 by 1, with the Fire Giant hitting for 600. 600 on the auto attacks. That is a legit crit. And now we're hitting towers for 400 in auto. That was such a good Discordia combo. I have to be very careful here, actually. Discordia might have her blink back up.
Attack middle lane.
Yeah, I don't have the ability to actually go in on this without my actives up. Boop. Now my job in these fights is to actually hit the Phoenix. As fun as it is to go for the PvP, as the hunter, it is really your job to make sure that the actual Phoenix dies. We're going to be doing much more damage to it than anything else. And so I do need to make sure that I am actually focusing in. Oh my lordy! This is going to be a hard corner to be in. It's going to be a hard corner to be in. I need to make sure that I am actually focusing down those Phoenixes. Now we can make up our actives, grab ourselves that Aegis of Judgment, as well as the CDR beads, just to help us get our abilities up to live a little bit faster. We can also grab ourselves a potion of power for a little additional CDR when we respawn.
The wicked blade.
Now, if they keep chasing, if they're gonna chase this out super far, then we do have our ultimate when we respawn to actually go back in on this fight, and they are gonna be chasing super far. So if this fight keeps going, we're gonna be able to get right back into it. Right back into it. Or, if this fight is already won, and they don't need me, I can actually ulti all the way over to that right-hand side, and I can start split pushing up that right-hand side, and we can attack left and we can attack right. And we can get ourselves a 2-for-1 deal going on these Phoenixes with them having to defend both. Now, I am going to be mostly out of mana when I land. We talked earlier about how much mana the Apollo does actually take now, and Transcendence is not a super good item to be buying right now. But regardless, still gets us over to the Phoenix, and we're going to be able to crush that thing in all of 1 second. And now we can move our way in towards the Titan. Grab us one more kill for the road as we wrap up the Apollo game. So you can see, top damage on Apollo. You do a lot of damage as the hunter. You do a lot of damage to the objectives as long as you have that much percent pen, that much flat pen in your kit. And you got to make sure the number one thing on Apollo, try to split the map as much as you can. Make sure you're going around getting towers. Make sure you're burning down the objectives, whether it be the Gold Fairy, the Fire Giant, the Phoenix, the towers. And make sure that you are actually ulting over, that you are actually getting yourselves into the team fights. A lot of times Apollos will just split push only and not rotate. You want to split push until the point that you force somebody to back, force somebody over. Then you can ulti over, force the 5v4, and you can do 10k structure damage while also doing 28k top damage in the game. And that is your Apollo Season 9 guide. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.